La Liga is on the way, and these are the title odds. Real Madrid are favourites according to ESPN Bet. Don't know if they watched them last season, but it is a whole fresh start in their eyes, and this is the title odds right now with Real Madrid's favourite to win it. Ian Darke still with us. We're hoping to hear from Lowe a little later on. He's in a car journey somewhere. If he does get home in time, he will be joining us. But who's your favourite, Ian?
Oh, it's a flip of a coin. They seem to alternate, don't they? That one year Barcelona wins it, the next year Real Madrid wins it. That's the way it's been going in recent seasons. Of course, you know, what will be the effect of Xabi Alonso with his more disciplined tactical approach arriving at Real Madrid? You would think that would bring on an improvement, wouldn't you? But the problems don't disappear overnight. I think you saw that at the Club World Championship when Paris Saint-Germain took them to the cleaners 4-0. So still things to sort out. They're going to have a new look defence this season. They're not going to have Bellingham until October because of his shoulder operation. But Barcelona are a very, very good side. We saw that last season. And, you know, they beat Real Madrid 4 times last season. So, I mean, I wouldn't like to call it really at this stage in the middle of the summer. But I suppose if you put me in a corner, just on the, it seems to flip over every year. Maybe just the bookmakers have got it right. Real Madrid's slight favourites. It's weird, isn't it? Mbappe got 43 goals, 44 goals, whatever it was. And he's regarded as a bit of a flop.
Yeah, we got there in the end for me, and he said Real Madrid. We went around the houses, but we got there in the end. Tell us, Ale, who's your favourite?
Not easy in the summer.
Okay. I have no idea how you make Real Madrid the favourites ahead of Barcelona going into the season, given something that Ian just mentioned there. They played the amount of times that they played last season, and none of those games were really all that close. They weren't. Real Madrid were not competitive against Barcelona last season. And so then we must ask ourselves a question. Has Real Madrid gotten significantly better over the last couple of months? I don't think so. Have Barcelona gotten significantly worse to bridge that gap? No. So going into the season, knowing what we know about both teams, logic would suggest, it may not be this way, but logic would suggest that Barcelona would be the favorites and Real Madrid are the ones trying to play catch-up.
Shaka?
I'm with Ali in that I think Barcelona, certainly as we sit right now, are favourites. And while Ian is absolutely right, Real Madrid have a new look defence and certainly have needed retooling in that department. Some of the issues, particularly up front in Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe, still exist. They're still there. How do you manage that front two, a front two who don't come back and offer anything defensively? That was the undoing of Carlo Ancelotti. That'll be the big test for Xabi Alonso. And right now, I can't see a solution to it. Maybe Xabi Alonso does and proves me wrong. But until he does, I just feel that Barcelona, I think, have gotten better. They need to regress for me if Real Madrid are to be favourites.
We've got somebody else joining the party.
Oh.
Lowe has made it.
All right. Yes. Professional.
There he is. Just an easy one for you then, Sid. Who's going to win La Liga?
Blimey, straight off the bat. I mean, look, I think the starting point has to be what we saw last season. Of course, that makes Barcelona favourites because they won the league, because they were the better side, because Real Madrid didn't resolve some of those problems that, of course, now Xabi Alonso has to try to resolve. And you know, just caught the very end of Shaq talking about the fit with Vinicius and Mbappe, and that's a genuine problem. They still don't have that central midfielder, although the structure is different this year. I think the anticipation is that Real Madrid will improve, and therefore will push Barcelona maybe a little bit harder than they did last year. And of course, they weren't that far off last season. But I think our starting point has to be that given where Barcelona have come from, given the way that they've played, and given that they're not really losing anyone from that team, although you know there might be 1 or 2 question marks about 1 or 2 of the positions, I think we have to start with the premise that Barcelona are favourites.
Are you surprised then to see Real Madrid favourites with the ESPN Bet, Sid?
Not entirely, because as I say, I think you look at Real Madrid last season, and I think you can identify a handful of problems. I think it's logical enough to believe that things will be better in Kylian Mbappe's second season, not least, of course, because his figures were so much better in the second half of the year than they've been in the first. So I suppose it's easy to to believe that the second half of the season will be continued into this new year and that he will continue to play well. I think it's easy enough to imagine that Xabi Alonso will change things and will get things right. And I think during the Club World Cup, we saw some of that. Not all of it, but we saw some of that until the PSG game. And it's true that they were taken apart by PSG, but there were certain signs of evolution and improvement there. And so it's not a huge surprise because I think we are looking at two teams that will both be very strong. And of course, we probably shouldn't have this discussion without mentioning Atletico Madrid. Now, I know that Atletico Madrid tend to frustrate us. I know that we tend to go into seasons and say, this is the one, this is a season which Atletico Madrid have spent well, they've brought good players and they will really compete. And actually, for quite a lot of last season, until around about late February, early March, they did. So I think we probably have to factor them in as well. But if we're going to start from what we know, rather than what we project to be possible, then I think we have to start with Barcelona. Now, you never know how it might have fallen. You never know if he might have had 2 brilliant months. I think really and truly it's possibly better to look at this from a human point of view and look at it from his point of view. And the frustration for him, this is a player who's in a position where he needs to prove something, who's still young enough that he's got time on his side, but I think probably feels like he's in a little bit of a hurry, who's seen another player overtake him. So I think the impact for Endrick is really, really big. And then there's another element to put into this equation here, which is whether Endrick would have even been there, whether he had started to become open to the possibility of a loan move somewhere. And of course, this would ruin any chances he had of doing that as well.
Sid, right, it's not too much of an impact, LA?
No impact at all. I'll take it even a step further than Sid. Sid is a nice guy. I, on the other hand, not so much. No impact at all. And the reason I say that is because did you even notice that Endrick wasn't playing the Club World Cup? Was anybody asking the question, wait, where is Endrick? No, he wasn't even a talking point. He was not. It isn't as if this team is desperate for this kid to play. Now, we can make players look as good as we want to in a highlight package. And if you just took the 3 goals from Endrick and you look at that kind of talent, you go, man, he is something special. But when we think of Endrick and his lack of success last season, it's not because he didn't give us glimpses. It's because there was no consistency whatsoever. And he never, ever gained the trust of Carlo Ancelotti to the point to where others were preferred to him playing in that position. Now, the most valid point that Sid has made, and this doesn't happen often, or often enough, is the fact that Gonzalo Garcia has now come to the forefront. And he was their best player in this past tournament. The team was better with him on the field because at least you had at least one guy defending out of that front line and forcing the press that Xabi Alonso wants from his attacking players and forcing the second and third pass to be missed by opposing teams so that then Real Madrid would actually get possession of the ball higher up the field. You know who doesn't do that either? Endrick doesn't do that either. He doesn't press. Mbappe doesn't press. Vini doesn't press. If I were Xabi Alonso, I would find a place for Gonzalo Garcia, but that place is non-existent because of the fact that you have Mbappe and Vini Jr. So guess who's not playing at all? Who's fourth in that list? Is Endrick, if that. Fourth, if that. So no impact whatsoever.